Hello and welcome to my review of The Next 3 Days, Paul Haggis's new film starring Russell Crowe, Elizabeth Banks, and Liam Neeson. Guys, guess what? There's other movies this fall besides Harry Potter. And this is a pretty interesting one, so let's dive right into it. The Next 3 Days centers on an average family man played by Russell Crowe, whose wife is arrested for the murder of her boss. Russell Crowe believes her innocence, so he stages an elaborate plan to get her out of prison. Concept, sure, but a lot can be done with it to make it interesting. And with an A-list director and cast, I was all ready for this to be one of the surprise best movies of the year. Not quite, but it was still pretty good. I think the best parts of this film is when it tries to be a human drama instead of the action and the escaping, which is good too, but it's heavily flawed. But when it tries to tell a human story, it actually succeeds. Most of that has to do with the performances by the lead actors. Russell Crowe is always reliable in anything, and here, he gives a subtle performance, but you always see that aura of pain underneath him. Elizabeth Banks is also very solid as a woman who's losing all of her hope. And Liam Neeson shows up for, like, a cameo. It's not really a big role in the film, but for what he has, which is kind of the explaining the mechanics of how prisons escape works, he is good in his one scene, and it's great to see a little A-list cameo like that. And I thought all the stuff with the movie tried to show Russell Crowe coping with his wife in jail, his kid having to grow up without a mother there, and having all the people at school like gossip about his mother, and just all this stuff weighing on this single dad and his kid, I thought was just handled really well. But then there's what you came to see, which is the main thrust of the story, which is the prison escape plotline. And I enjoyed it, but I have a lot of problems with it. And my main problem with the film could have been so easily dodged. While I found the element of this average guy planning out this huge, complicated escape to be kind of interesting, I think it would have just made a lot more sense if Liam Neeson was guiding him throughout the film instead of being in his one scene. Sure, the scene that he had kind of started Crowe's thoughts off, but it gets so complicated that there's no way he could have come up with it by itself, because when you think about it, it's a very complex plan, and while that simple monologue by Liam Neeson may have set some of those thoughts off, I just didn't think it made complete sense that he was able to form this elaborate plan without Neeson's help. But what makes up for it is that the main thrust of the film, which is watching him form this plan, is pretty interesting. It just doesn't make as much sense as it should. And like I said before, the plan isn't, like, ridiculous as much as it is elaborate. And I just would have preferred if Neeson was in there, but it wasn't a huge problem. It's just my main quibble with it, but it didn't hurt the movie too much. And I thought once the movie became an action film, it was actually pretty realistic. There was some nice chase cinematography. It never felt like it became this over-ridiculous chase, let's punch everybody who gets in our way type of movie, which I would have probably had fun with too. But aside from one kind of ridiculous scene, it really kept into the basic grounds of reality. Some questionable shaky cam here and there, but overall a pretty solid final 30 minutes. Although the film starts to kind of spin its wheels at the end, like for the last 5 minutes you're just like, God, end already. But it doesn't hurt it too much. This movie is directed by Paul Haggis, who previously did Crash in 2005, which won Best Picture, even though that movie sounds like kryptonite to me and I will never, ever, ever, ever watch it. Anyway, he is a writer as well, and he writes his own films. And he's written some solid screenplays before. He wrote Casino Royale and $1 Million Baby. But I feel like if he had just gone back and given this one more rewrite, it could have been even better, because he is a really good director. He knows how to keep a film suspenseful. He, for the most part, knows how to shoot action. And I just wish if he had just tightened the movie up a little bit, because there's a lot of pacing problems in the middle. And just, I don't know, if he just made the film feel, like, give it a little more energy, I think it could have been even better. But it's still a pretty good film. Overall, this is a solid movie. Don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes with its 47%. It's not great, but it's a solid film. And if you're not interested in Harry Potter, I say check this out. You'll have a good time. You may be bored in some parts, and you may find some of the plot elements a little ridiculous, but it's well acted, it's well directed, and it's just a well-made thriller overall. 3 stars out of 4 for The Next 3 Days. If you enjoyed this review, please subscribe to my channel, because next week we're going to have reviews of Faster, which The Rock is finally coming back to action movies, praise the Lord, and 127 Hours, which I'm really looking forward to. Looks like a great movie, good Oscar contender. Gonna have a review for that hopefully next week as well. But until then, have a happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.